Well, hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to be engaging with a video that has to do with divorce in our modern culture and how we think about it.
Every 13 seconds, there's a divorce in America. Why are we still shaming ourselves for this?
I want to fact check that. Every 13 seconds, that seems like that can't possibly be right. Maybe that is right. I don't know. Anyway, that seems like a wild claim, and I'm just guessing that there's got to be some sort of thing that's making that feel inflated.
No one gets married thinking that they're going to get divorced. And also, no good marriage ends in divorce.
Okay, so it's true. I think it's true that nobody gets married thinking that they're going to get a divorce. Even if somebody goes into it maybe not thinking that divorce is out of the question, I think most people when they get married are at a point where they're like, but not me. Like this marriage is for real. Like me and her, me and him forever. It's going to be all right. So I think that she's right about that nobody gets married thinking maybe we'll end up getting divorced. But what she says about no good marriage ends in divorce, that's a much trickier statement because it sort of leaves the impression that there's marriages that are good and there's marriages that are bad. Versus maybe there's a marriage that's going through a really painful, difficult season. And maybe it even is a marriage that at this point you could say, this is a bad marriage, just in the sense that communication isn't going well, the couple is estranged from each other. I think the problem is when you look at it and sort of say, if that's happening, then the marriage is irredeemably bad. There's just something about the makeup of the couple that it's just a bad marriage that could never be anything other than bad. Every marriage that lasts until one of the two spouses die, every marriage has seasons that are bad seasons. And so if you took that, no marriage would go the distance if you took her logic here of just a bad marriage. There aren't just good marriages and bad marriages. The choices that we make have a lot to do with what our marriages are going to be like. Even the choices that one person makes versus if you have two people that are like, right now our marriage is bad. Like this is not good right now, but hey, we're going to lean in. We're going to trust that Jesus brought us together. We're going to get help that we need. We're going to keep looking for solutions. We're going to strive to walk in a spirit-led way where we're loving one another. You'll see different results in your marriage rather than just saying, this happens to be one of the marriages that is not good. So why hold on to a marriage that's not good?
So if you got divorced, congratulations. Congratulations for not staying in a relationship that's not serving you.
There it is. Staying in a relationship that is not serving you. She said the quiet part out loud. Maybe for her, it's not the quiet part. Staying in a relationship that is not serving you. The idea that marriage is a relationship that you got into because you said, maybe for her, hey, getting married to this guy, I think this serves my interests. I think that he's going to help provide for me. I think that he is going to be a good father to children that we'll have one day. I think that maybe he'll be a support and partner with me as I look to do my business ventures. I think socially will be a good match. I think emotionally he'll be somebody that's good to lean on. I think marrying him will serve my interests. And then when it gets to the point that being married to him is not serving my interests, why would I stay in a marriage like that? If this is your perspective toward marriage, then don't get married. In fact, if this was your perspective towards marriage, I'm not quite sure why you would get married. Maybe it's the tax implications, or maybe it's the social sort of capital that might still come sometimes from being married. Marriage, as believers in Jesus, marriage is a covenant relationship where we make promises to each other for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. And I don't know if this woman doing the video, I don't know if that was part of her marriage vows, that they typically are. If that was part of her marriage vows, I don't know how she reconciles it with this idea of it's not serving me. Well, that might fit into the category of for better, for worse. This is a season where it's not as great. And maybe it's his fault. Maybe it's a little bit of both of your faults. Maybe it's more your fault because you're demanding certain things. Whatever it is, the idea that we would look at it and say, if this marriage is not serving me, reveals a lot about our mindset. If this is your mindset, at the very least, wait on getting married until you have a different mindset. This is not the biblical picture of promising to stick it out with each other and build a life together, and recognizing that there's going to be times where your marriage doesn't seem like it's serving you.
If you don't like your job, you get a new job. If you hate where you live, you move. Why is it that people expect us to stay in relationships that we don't want to be in anymore? And even if you weren't the person that decided to end the marriage, then you need to ask yourself, why would I want to be with someone who doesn't want me? You deserve better than that.
So she makes a parallel. If you're in a job that you don't like, get a new job. If you're living in a place that you don't like, move. There's a degree to which, yeah, absolutely. You have not made a covenant to that job. Now, sometimes there is an agreement or a contract or something like that, and that's where you would look to be faithful within that, to say, all right, I'm going to finish up my contract with this employer, and then I'm going to look for a new job. Or I am going to finish up my lease at this apartment and then go find a new place to stay. So there can be a level of faithfulness in that. But this is really trivializing marriage. To act as if, well, this is a thing that you got into, and as long as it works for you, stay in it. If it stops working for you, get out of it. That's not what marriage is. Marriage is a till death do we part covenant relationship that for us as believers, this reflects, and really, I shouldn't even say just for us as believers. Marriage, whether people recognize it or not, all marriages are a picture of Christ and the church. Now, we can end up telling a bad story about Christ and the church by our marriages, but that's what marriage is. So for those of us as believers, that's why we wouldn't look at it this way as just sort of, hey, I'm just trading in one car for another car, or I'm just moving from one place to another. What she said at the end about the idea of if you were left, if you were the one who was abandoned or divorced by your spouse, that's okay, because why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with you? I think the issue once again here is that you're looking at somebody and you're saying, if you have been left, you're looking at somebody and you're saying, you made promises to me. You promised me you weren't going to do this. You promised before God and before witnesses, hey, for better or for worse, I'm with you. I will not leave you, forsaking all others to keep myself only for you. So the idea that you would look at it and say, hey, why are you upset? The person didn't want to be with you. It may be that you're saying, I'm upset because they promised they weren't going to do this. They promised they were going to be with me. They promised that we were going to work things out together. So of course you're going to be hurt if somebody breaks that promise. Now, there might be a level where you can console yourself in some sense by saying, they were choosing not to change. They were choosing not to engage with change. And so in some sense, the marriage was, certain parts of the marriage were already in a stage of grief or loss because one way or another, whether we stayed married or not, that area of our marriage, we were never going to grow deeper in. And at the same time, to sort of shrug it off and the whole, you deserve better. Maybe it's true and maybe it's not. First of all, we all deserve far less than we think that we deserve. God is so gracious to us. But you could say, hey, the ideal for you is to be in a marriage where you are valuing each other, where you are caring for each other. So in a sense, you'd say, you deserve that maybe in that sense, that if you got married, your spouse should be caring for you in that way. And at the same time, I think that mindset just puts us in a position where we're going to be much more likely the ones to end the marriage, to say, hey, I deserve somebody that wakes up every day with me and just thinks that I'm the greatest person in the world. And I deserve somebody who's not going to get on my case because of these things that I do. And I deserve somebody who's going to go out and do these fun activities that I want to do and doesn't sort of shrug them off and do something else. And I feel like I deserve somebody who pulls their own weight with the kids and doesn't leave it all on me. We're going to start using all of that mindset. If this is your mindset, don't get married. Marriage is a death till death do we part covenant. And if you're not up for getting into that, if you're not saying, hey, for better, for worse, I am with you, I am not leaving you, we are working this out, we are in this together, then don't get married. But if you do get married, realize that God is in this. And God does great things in us, even if you're in a marriage where your spouse never changes in certain areas. God does profound work in us. And the best marriages that tell the best story are the marriages where there has been difficulty and there was a point where one or both could have got out, could have said, this is done, I'm not doing this anymore, but persevered in it because their hope was not in their spouse, but their hope was in God. And marriage, getting married now and staying married now, I think is a symbol of hope in God that there's a reward greater than the reward that we get from our marriages just in the here and now.